Good morning. My name is Cynthia Davis, and I'm the worship associate for today's service. I want to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster on this beautiful, crisp fall morning, although astronomically I think it's winter. Otherwise, the 21st can't be midwinter. We come today to celebrate this bastion of liberal religion in Lancaster County. We celebrate you, no matter how you identify, whomever you love, or the path that you follow to your spirituality. As is our custom, with those on Zoom, open your screen to gallery view, and those here, let's greet each other warmly by waving to each other. And we can wave to each other here. Let us join in singing hymn 86 in the gray hymnal.
You may rise in light of the Spirit as you are here. Yes,
lights our chalice, let us call ourselves into the sacred space of worship. May you leave what you don't need in this space, and may you pick up what you need when you leave.
Welcome again. I want to welcome members who've been coming for decades and those of you who may be joining us for the first time. If this is your very first visit, we hope you are spiritually nurtured and will continue celebrating with us in the future. I now want to welcome the minister for the service, the Reverend Elizabeth Haralam Shuba, who is our affiliated community minister. Thank you for celebrating with us this morning.
As much of the things that you'll hear today come from Katherine May's book, Wintering: The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times, this is a piece from that book. She says, "I recognized winter. I saw it coming from a mile off, if you ask. And I looked it in the eye. I greeted it and let it in. I had some tricks up my sleeve, you see. I've learned them the hard way. When I started feeling the drag of winter, I began to treat myself like a favored child, with kindness and love. I assumed my needs were reasonable and that my feelings were signals of something important. I kept myself well-fed and made sure I was getting enough sleep. I took myself for walks in the fresh air and spent time doing things that soothed me. I asked myself, what is this winter all about? What change is coming?
We will read responsively number 611 in the gray hymnal. These are part of lessons given by Brahma in the Bhagavad Gita. I will read the bold type, if you will please read the italics. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all.
I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind. I am the conscience and the living.
I am death that snatches all. I also am the source of all that shall be born.
I am without end. I am the sustainer. My face is everywhere.
I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual.
I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, and forgiveness. And peace.
I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me.
I am strength of the strong. I am purity of the good.
I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limitation to my divine manifestations.
Whatever is in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from affection of power. Good morning, beloveds. Welcome to December and to wintering. As Cynthia said, I am the Reverend Elizabeth Haralam Shuba, and lucky you, I am your affiliated community minister. Lucky me, really. We've been seeing a lot of each other from this shared perspective, and I am chuffed to be with you again this morning. As you may have read in the love letter, the invitation to wintering comes from Katherine May's book of the same name. Much of humanity has a negative connotation of the dark. It has come to symbolize the boogeyman, the unknown, and creepy, crawly things. But in darkness, we rest, we take stock, and just maybe we find deeper meaning. There is beauty to behold in the darkness. And I began to engage with this season differently when I was learning about Sabbath in seminary. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all engage with the practice of Sabbath. The word comes from the Hebrew Shabbat, which means to rest. In response to this learning, I began to think about the importance of rest and listening in the season of greater darkness. Prior to entering seminary, my spouse and I owned a retail business for 25 years. Punk rock, records and clothing, angry, young, and poor, if you're familiar. For several decades, a marathon began around the fourth Thursday of November and lasted through the second week of the new year. We worked around the clock to fill mail orders for our business, attend our children's school concerts, why they're in winter, I will never know, and we gathered with family, and generally ignored the screaming need for rest. And every year, around the second week of January, I would take to my bed, wiped out and feeling unwell. I had no specific symptoms. I just had an overwhelming sense of having been run over by a Mack truck. Some people catch on to things earlier in life, and then there's me, who didn't pivot until I was 43 and answering the call to ministry. How can I make serving others sustainable? How can I give without making myself ill? After some trial and error, I wondered what would happen if I spent periodic times listening instead of directing my mind, body, and spirit. Bless you. In her book, Wintering, May says, if happiness is a skill, then sadness is too. Perhaps through all those years at school, or perhaps through other terrors, we are taught to ignore sadness, to stuff it down in satchels and pretend it isn't there. As adults, we have often come to the clarity of this call. This is wintering. It is the active acceptance of sadness. It is the practice of allowing ourselves to feel it as a need. It is the courage to stare down the worst parts of our experience and commit to healing them the best we can. Wintering is a moment of intuition, our true needs felt keenly as a knife. What I know about this kind of reflection is that it is the pathway to our own healing. When we sit with our sadness in this way, we can find what is still true about the suffering, and we can identify what we're ready to let go of. When we winter, we make space for joy. The thing is, even when we don't winter, we shoulder that satchel that May mentions. It lives in us, heavy and unnamed. As an oncology chaplain, I'm often consulted to meet people around their third month of treatment. By this time, they've managed to normalize the tectonic shift in their life. They have identified their good days after treatment. They're approaching their first scans, and their outermost rings of support have receded. When I meet them, they're having difficulty making sense of their current distress. They wonder, why now? They had an emotional response when they were diagnosed, but now they feel unmoored. The truth is, now they have the opportunity to reflect on the totality of their experience. This is when winter calls. First comes the shock of the diagnosis, then comes the job of bending their existence to the whims of treatment. 3 months in, they can feel all of their big feelings, made even more jarring by the looming scan, which will tell them if it was for good or for naught. I offer my experience and that of those I support as an example of how our body will pull us into wintering even if we don't choose it. So I invite you to harness your autonomy and choose. May writes, doing those deeply unfashionable things, slowing down, letting your spare time expand, getting enough sleep, which isn't the same, but also resting, is a radical act now, but it is essential. This is a crossroads we all know, a moment when you need to shed a skin. If you don't, you'll expose all those painful nerve endings and feel so raw that you'll need to take care of yourself for a while. If you don't, that skin will harden around you. We become short-sighted to the needs of others, encapsulated and trapped by our own pain. Wintering celebrates many of the things you hold dear: radical acts, body autonomy, and counterculturalism. Wintering is also how we prepare for the service that is the gift of Unitarian Universalism. Service to ourselves allows for stewardship of care for others. A few weeks ago, Reverend Howard preached about the importance of feeling our feelings and listening to what we need as we prepare for another Trump presidency. And around that same time, UCL folk have shared their desire to heal old wounds. There's no shame in saying we have wounds. We are a family. And I would dare anyone to say that they came out of their family of origin unscathed. It is impossible to be in relationship, real relationship, one that dares to delve below the surface, where we can avoid disappointment. To pretend otherwise is to avoid wintering. We cannot heal what we have not named. Carl Gustav Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So if that's true, in our avoidance of wintering's reflection, we temper our own agency and throw our hands up to the whims of the world around us. By shining a light on the unconscious, we give it a name. That which has been named can be known to us, and we can begin to work through our fear of it. We don't get to decide for others when they are healed. Grief takes its own time. What we can do as a community of care is love each other through our grief process. We can encourage and provide space for wintering, but the work is our own to do. I read this anonymous gem recently and have been thinking about it ever since. The degree to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. You don't run away. We move toward the difficult thing. We aspire to growth. This growth is intrinsic to our principles and sources. We have covenanted to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We promise to demonstrate justice, equity, and compassion, to accept one another and encourage spiritual growth, to search freely and responsibly for truth and meaning, to support the democratic process, to improve the global community, to respect the interdependent web of existence, and to build a diverse community and dismantle racism. How can we respond to what we have promised each other without the cloistered spaces of wintering? Ours is not a faith of arriving. We are a tradition of striving for the best version of ourselves, a lifelong pursuit that only ends when we take our last breath. Celebrate the rhythms of the earth, and we are interconnected with nature. As such, we cannot blossom all year long. There is a requirement to tend to our roots. When we do, the shoots will care for themselves. Nearly. I get it. The darkness can seem like it drags on for an eternity, but when we live through enough seasons, we recognize that everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. It is why the winter solstice is so sacred to us, because on the longest night, we await the promise of light. But what we do after the light is just as important. I've probably shared here that I walk every morning around the campus where I work, 3 laps all year long. This time of year, I arrive at work when it's still dark and the light is waning as I walk to my car at the end of the workday. What I've noticed is on my first lap in the darkness, my other senses become attuned to the nature around me. The picture on the love letter, which didn't make it to this morning's program, is from my second lap, where the sun is warming the sky from black to purple with a hint of yellow. By my third lap, the sun burns the sky with oranges and reds. I've noticed that each lap brings with it a profound response. In the darkness, I am listening. In the transition, I am feeling the promise of the new day. And at sunrise, I am filled with hope and joy at what nature has delivered. We cannot fully recognize joy if we haven't wintered through our suffering. We have nothing to compare to it. When we don't winter, we risk seeking healing externally, and this often shows up as a lack of boundaries in our relationships or a hunger that no one else could possibly fill. It can reveal itself in the very American practice of staying busy, of focusing on the outside world to fill our cup, on the doing rather than the human being, which in my experience leads to an inevitable crash. In the early days of my forced convalescence, I would continue to fill myself by consumption of the outside world, watching mindless fluff on TV, reading well-crafted stories, and continuing to support those in my life. I remained busy from my bed. I learned nothing about myself and what I needed. I rose days later, perpetuating the same cycle. Sabbath taught me to listen, to reflect, to hold space for loss and sadness. Author Lauren E. Bowman has this line that I love. She writes, "My arms grew tired from constantly reaching, so I wrapped them around myself and allowed them to rest." When I wrapped my arms around myself, I was able to tend to my inner orphan. We all have that place in ourselves that no other person can reach. Process theology believes that when we nurture our orphan, we commune with the divine that they call God. For some, meeting God would be a deterrent from looking at our grief. So for you, we'll call this space the honing of your prophetic voice. We glean clarity about how we can meet the brokenness of the world around us when we tend to our own orphan. In wintering, I learned that my overfunctioning in every important relationship robbed others of their ability to be authentic with me. Ouch. I had mistaken fear and a need to control every facet of my life as care for others. Wintering taught me that in working on my trust of others to care well for me, I could let go of the need to control. In this letting go, my capacity for compassion evolved. I am the spouse, parent, sister, child, friend, and minister you see today because I wintered. I continue to winter because life continues to be messy. When we don't winter, we keep doing the same thing and hope for a different outcome. I get it. The formational work of internal exploration is scary. It's just that, work. It's like remodeling a home. We pull up the carpet to reveal pristine hardwood floors. Then we realize we need to paint. And then we notice the old drapes. And by the time you've remodeled the whole home, the floors need to be refinished. And yet fear shouldn't stop us from engaging in this work because we are the only home our orphan knows. If we want others to feel safe with us, we must strive to make our inner orphan feel safe in the home of our hearts. Author and philosopher Machona Diloeho offers this. He says, "A seed fears neither the light nor the darkness, but needs both to grow." If nature harnesses the potential of darkness, if it prepares for the light by culling its strength in the darkness, we can too. May writes, if we don't allow ourselves the fundamental honesty of our own sadness, then we miss an important cue to adapt. We seem to be living in an age where we're bombarded with entreaties to be happy, but we're suffering from an avalanche of depression. We're urged to stop sweating the small stuff, and yet we're chronically anxious. I often wonder if these are just normal feelings that become monstrous when they're denied. And monstrous is exactly what they become when unattended. Some say anxiety is a habitual response for a person who is unexperienced in navigating deeper emotions. This can happen, for an example, if one grows up in a family where there was no space for sadness, no space for the full spectrum of our emotions that we are so belovedly granted. When you were sent out with this pristine clothes and well-washed face, but no one said, "I love you and have a good day." I'm imagining the quintessential 50s home where the emphasis was on appearance but not substance, where the goal was looking like the perfect American family, but no one spoke of alcoholism and verbal cruelty. Wintering helps us understand how our past experiences have informed those jagged bits of ourselves we find difficult to swallow. Whether with intention or out of habit, the denial of the full spectrum of our emotions cripples our ability to show up in the fullness of ourselves. We can't control the world around us, but we can absolutely control how we show up. So sit with your inner orphan. Acknowledge your jagged and broken bits. Take yourself to see a movie, like Wicked. Seriously, go see Wicked. Winter as needed, and then come enjoy the radiance, because the darkness always returns after the light, and we need both to grow. Blessed be, Shalom, Ashe, and Amen. Please join us as you are able in singing hymn 1002, Comfort Me, singing the Living Tradition. That's 1002. Wait, that's a lie. It's in your teal hymnal.
Teal hymnal number 10,002.
10,002? That's in no hymnal.
Friends, comfort me.
Be careful where you trust, folks.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me a little faster. Here we go. Sing with me. Sing with me. Give it some weight, friends. Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Friends, speak for me, ready? Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my. Dance with me, friends. Give it everything you've got. Yeah. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Add some harmony if you want, that's fine. And dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my. Comfort me one more
Wintering was a new term for me. I had never heard about it. I didn't know anything about it. And when Reverend Elizabeth said that the topic today, I should look at Katherine May's book, I went and started reading. I found it interesting. And I began to think, well, what episodes in my life have I in fact been wintering? Or was I just sad frequently and made no attempt to think and heal, which actually is an active response that one has to do? And then I began to think of episodes in my life. And they became rather overwhelming. And I began to wonder whether or not wintering isn't my steady state. So one experience that we had when Jean and I moved here to Lancaster in the summer of 1999, we left our lives in Galveston, Texas. I had lived in Texas for 27 years by then. I shall never live there again. But during that time, I enjoyed it. So we came here so that Jean could take up her position as a faculty member in biology at Millersville University. And I retired from college teaching. The state of Texas was desperate to get rid of old wood. Now, mind you, I was 53 when I retired. But in the back of my mind, I was undergoing some sadness for having left a job that I absolutely loved. And I was unmoored. I could busy myself preparing a house. I could, and furnishing the house. I had several friends. I had a good friend here from UUCL who's since passed away. And she made it her mission that we would go to antique shops, but most importantly, we would try to visit every diner and family restaurant in Lancaster County. So I'm quite familiar with a lot of these places and all the wonderful antique shops. And so I busied myself. It was beginning to gnaw at me that school starts and I'm not there. I'm not in my classroom on the first day to set the tone. And you worry, how on earth is that college ever going to survive without me? So you stay busy. And then I began to teach at Harrisburg Area Community College, the Lancaster campus when it was at Burrell Industries. And it was a wonderful place to be until growth overtook it. It was a very nice community, wonderful dedicated faculty, great students. Community colleges tend to have very good students. And that became a family again. But it wasn't full-time. That wasn't who I really was. So I didn't know. And then there were the usual ups and downs that go on in life. The good things and the bad things that happen to us. And they happened to me as well. And thinking about what Reverend Elizabeth said, it's how we responded. And I'm not sure I responded in the most healthy way. And so this has been a great experience for me to have read about this idea of wintering and to say, I could use that time much more wisely so that I come out when the sun, quote, comes out, and be able to engage in life in a healthy fashion, having learned something. So my response is thank you. Goodness gracious, my notes. At this time, we'll be accepting your donations to this congregation. The ushers will be coming forward to pass the baskets. You may also make a donation using the QR code in the order of service. During this month, half the proceeds will be shared with Clare House. It's Meals on Wheels was October and November. And for December and January, our charity will be Clare House here in Lancaster. The plates may now be passed.
Beautiful, thank you. Now is the time of our tradition of sharing our stones of joys and sorrows. I invite you, as you are able, to come through the middle, walk over to Cynthia, find a stone, and place it in the sand. All are welcome. You've heard a lot from my voice, so I thought in lieu of a pastoral prayer, we would attempt to winter together. So check in with yourself. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. Get your feet on the floor in front of you. Take in a nice, slow, deep breath. What do you notice? What do you need? What strings got tooled with in the theory of wintering? Let us winter together. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to this place, keeping where you were bookmarked for a return. Amen.
At this time, if you will join me in saying the affirmation of faith, which you will find on the inside cover of the gray hymnal. We will read it in unison, first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este es nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos en paz, el buscar la verdad en amor, y ayudarnos unos a los otros. There are several announcements that I need to make. First, today being the first of the month, there will be a labyrinth walk in Founders Hall beginning at 11. It opens at 11:30 through 1:30. For those who might be interested, if a labyrinth walk is somewhat new to you, there will be a talk in Emerson Hall during coffee hour, and the topic is the 3 R's of the labyrinth. During this, the techniques offered for how to enter, how to center, and how to exit the labyrinth paths. It's an excellent way to find balance and peace. Volunteers are always needed. We need 3 to 4 members willing to be on the Garvin Lecture Committee. This committee sponsors lectures, concerts, and other events to entertain members and to attract new friends to UUCL. Last week's order of service asked for volunteers, and we attracted 3 volunteers for childcare. Thank you who volunteered and for coming forward. I know we could use, for childcare, they say we could use one more volunteer. Other volunteer openings also exist. There will be a table at coffee hour that you could find some of those opportunities and sign up. The environmental justice team here at UCL is seeking residents of school districts Lancaster, Conestoga Valley, Penn Manor, Lampeter Strasburg, Manheim Township, and Hempfield to contact their board and superintendent when applications become available for upcoming state grants for solar installations on schools. Advocate that the schools apply. We invite you to join us for coffee and conversation downstairs in Emerson Hall following this service. Was there a? Oh, another announcement. Wonderful.
Well, we're gearing up for that one. Unless Eli was going to talk about the poinsettia sale.
Oh, that's right.
Have a poinsettia sale. I believe that there are applications. There's a link in the love letter. The last day to order is this Friday, December 6th.
Yes, thank you. And I had not written that down and forgotten it.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Friends, I'll keep this quick. If you like holiday music, this weekend is your friend. So December 7th, this Saturday at 7 p.m., December 7th at 7 p.m., Alan and I, along with a couple friends from the congregation, are hosting an evening of holiday music, intimate, jazzy stuff. We don't really know yet, but it's going to be fun. Come sing with us, okay? And the 8th, I won't be here, but Bonnie is hosting, as part of the music team, carols and during coffee hour. So the 7th, come sing holiday stuff with Alan and I. The 8th, coffee hour, sing some more carols. That's all.
Thank you. The current board members have green ID tags, and that signifies their ministry of serving on the board of trustees. You can talk to them regarding any questions you may have about our congregation. And you can also find other activities of the congregation by signing up for our newsletter, The Love Notes. Now, please stand if you are able and join us in singing hymn 55.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness found me still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and when my soul may hear a voice, of still small voice of love eternal, darkness when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Well, thank you for braving this wintry yet still fall day with us. I'm so grateful to see so many familiar faces and new ones I look forward to getting to know better. And as our final bit, Melanie Lau writes, Western culture believes we must be alive for a purpose, to work, to make money. Some indigenous cultures believe we're alive just as nature is alive, to be here, to be beautiful and strange. We don't need to achieve anything to be valid in our humanness. So in this season of good cheer and gathering, may we feel emboldened to say no thank you when we need rest. May we be brave enough to listen to what we need, patient enough for our inner orphan to feel seen and heard, and gentle enough with others for because we hope they are doing the same work. May we create space for becoming while honoring the fact that we all reach the mark in our own time. Go in peace, act in love, and care for one another. Amen.
Thank you.